Have you ever, like, just sat there on the edge of your bed, completely exhausted after a really brutal workout, just staring at one of those popular percussive massage guns?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know the ones I mean.
Yeah.
They look like actual power tools. They sound like a miniature jackhammer.
Right. They really do.
And as you're pressing it into your incredibly sore thigh, you kind of can't help but wonder, is this actually doing anything scientifically? Or am I just vibrating my soreness into, like, a state of temporary submission?
That is honestly the ultimate post-workout question. I mean, we all want a shortcut to recovery, right? And those devices just feel so convincing in your hand.
They really do.
The sheer mechanical force, the rapid thumping against the skin, it creates this super intuitive sense that you are physically rebuilding the muscle tissue right there on the spot.
Exactly, yeah. It feels like you're actively taking charge of your own healing. But today, we're actually going to find out for sure.
Which is very exciting.
We are diving into a highly specific, honestly fascinating piece of research to get you some actual answers. The study we're unpacking today has a very academic title, but stick with us because the implications are huge for anyone who exercises.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
It's called Effects of Percussive Massage Treatments on Symptoms Associated with Eccentric Exercise-Induced Muscle Damage.
A mouthful for sure.
Right. And it was authored by Trevor D. Roberts, Pablo B. Costa, Scott K. Lynn, and Jared W. Coburn. It was published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine in 2024.
And I just have to say, it is a phenomenal piece of work, specifically because it isolates variables that that previous studies left incredibly messy.
Yeah.
They stripped away all the noise to look at the pure underlying mechanics of what's happening.
And that is exactly our mission for you today on this deep dive. We're going to unpack this specific study with scientific clarity and figure out exactly what 1 minute, just one single minute of percussive massage actually does to our muscles.
Just 1 minute, yeah.
Right, our strength and our range of motion over a 72-hour recovery window. And, you know, just as importantly, we're going to talk about what it doesn't do.
Which might surprise some people.
Oh, for sure. So, welcome to the deep dive. We are so glad you are here with us to geek out on this.
Yeah, let's get into it. To really understand the cure, or I guess the attempted cure, we first have to understand the damage.
Right.
You can't evaluate how well a muscle is recovering if you don't establish a totally standardized baseline of destruction first.
Standardized destruction. I love that phrase so much. While I was preparing for this, I was reading up on how the researchers achieved that, and they specifically focused on something called eccentric exercise.
Yes, exactly.
The best way I can visualize this for you guys is to imagine you are holding a really heavy box of books. Lifting that box up from your waist to your chest, that's a concentric movement. Your bicep muscle is shortening while it works.
Right, the classic curl.
But now, imagine lowering that heavy box of books very, very slowly all the way down to the floor. Your bicep is lengthening, but it is still under immense tension to keep the box from basically crashing down.
Yeah, fighting gravity.
Exactly. That lengthening underload is an eccentric contraction.
And from a physiological standpoint, eccentric contractions are just notorious. They are the primary culprit behind that deep, aching soreness you feel a day or two after a workout, which we call delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS.
The dreaded DOMS.
The dreaded DOMS, yeah. When a muscle is forced to lengthen while it's simultaneously trying to contract and hold a weight, the fibers are essentially just being pulled apart.
Ouch.
Yeah, it creates a massive and a microscopic trauma right at the cellular level.
Which brings us to the actual protocol they put these subjects through. I mean, just reading the methodology made my arms hurt.
It's brutal.
They took 17 untrained college-aged subjects, and they had them perform 60 eccentric bicep curls. That is 6 sets of 10.
It's a lot of volume.
Right. And they loaded a dumbbell to 85% of their 1 repetition maximum weight. And here's the truly brutal part. They didn't just lower it normally.
No, they did not.
They had to lower that heavy weight over a grueling 7-second count, keeping time with a literal metronome.
Insane.
Imagine starting at the top and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds to the bottom for 60 reps.
The amount of mechanical tension that places on an untrained muscle is staggering. But, you know, we have to look at the intention behind those specific parameters.
Okay, why did they do it that way?
Well, using untrained subjects was a very deliberate choice. When you regularly lift weights, your body undergoes something called the repeated bout effect.
Oh, I actually came across that term. The way I understood it, it's sort of like building up a callus on your hands.
Exactly.
Like if you chop wood for the first time, your hands get covered in blisters. But if you chop wood every day, The skin adapts, it gets tougher, and you don't get blisters anymore. Does the muscle do the same thing with soreness?
That is a perfect analogy, honestly. The muscle adapts its structural proteins to better handle the tearing forces of eccentric loads.
Makes sense.
A seasoned weightlifter simply won't experience catastrophic muscle damage from a heavy workout anymore. By bringing in untrained subjects, people without those internal calluses, the researchers guaranteed a massive, measurable spike in muscle damage.
Because they needed them broken down.
Exactly. They needed the subjects to be as sore and broken down as humanly possible to see if the massage gun actually did anything at all.
That makes total sense. Now, my first thought when I saw the design was about how they actually applied the treatment. They only used the subject's non-dominant arm.
Right.
Why not just massage the right arm and leave the left arm alone as a control on the very same person?
It's a great question. But the human nervous system just doesn't work in isolation like that. Previous studies on rolling massage and vibration therapy have shown that if you aggressively massage one limb, it can actually reduce pain perception or even change the range of motion in the opposite limb.
Wait, really? The other arm?
Yeah, it is known as a crossover effect. The brain is receiving so much sensory input from the treated arm that it alters its global perception of pain entirely.
Wow, okay.
So by using a between subjects design, meaning one group of people got the massage and a totally separate group of people acted as the control, they eliminated that neurological interference completely.
Ah, I see.
And as for using the non-dominant arm, if you completely destroy someone's dominant arm, they're still going to use it to open heavy doors or, carry groceries or write over the next 3 days.
Right, they can't avoid using it.
Exactly. All that incidental daily movement introduces outside variables. The non-dominant arm sits relatively dormant during daily tasks, which keeps the data really clean.
Okay, so we have two separate groups of people with absolutely trashed non-dominant biceps. Here is the intervention they used.
The fun part.
The treatment group received exactly 1 minute of percussive massage. They used a Hypervolt 2 device set to 40 hertz, which is the moderate speed setting, delivering like 40 strikes per second using the round ball attachment.
Yep, very standard setup.
Yeah. They applied this for 1 minute immediately after the workout and then again at the 24-hour mark, the 48-hour mark, and the 72-hour mark. Meanwhile, the control group basically just laid quietly on a table for an equal amount of time.
So we have our baseline of destruction and we have our intervention. The natural next question, and honestly the reason millions of people buy these devices, is whether or not that mechanical something actually helps the muscle build its physical strength back faster.
Right. Does it actually heal you? So the researchers measured something called maximal isometric torque, or MIT.
Which is a great metric.
This is basically a test of raw, unmoving strength. Like how much pure rotational force can that damaged bicep generate? And the findings at the 24-hour mark were mathematically undeniable.
Yeah, they were.
That raw strength plummeted by about 12% for the group that just laid there and did nothing. But for the group that got the fancy percussive massage, their strength also plummeted by 12%.
Exactly the same.
There was absolutely no difference in strength recovery at 24 hours, 48 hours, or 72 hours.
The massage gun provided zero structural recovery. And to understand why, we have to look at the cellular reality of microtrauma.
Okay, lay it on me.
Deep inside your muscle fibers, there are these microscopic boundaries called Z-lines. Think of muscle fibers kind of like interlaced fingers pulling together.
Like gripping your own hands together.
Yes. When you force a muscle into a heavy eccentric contraction like that 7-second negative curl, it pulls those interlaced fingers apart so forcefully that the Z-lines physically shear and tear.
Oh man, that sounds terrible.
It is. And no amount of external vibration can instantly knit torn protein strands back together. Repairing Z-lines requires protein synthesis, cellular cleanup, and honestly, just time.
But let me push back on this a little, because even if the physical proteins are still torn, what about the neurological side? Like, did the vibration at least wake the muscle up?
What do you mean?
Like, maybe the electrical connection from the brain to the muscle was sharper, allowing them to recruit more of the surviving muscle fibers?
That's a really good thought. And the researchers anticipated that exact theory.
Yeah.
To test it, they used two highly sophisticated measurements, electromyography, or EMG, and mechanomyography, or MMG.
Okay, big words.
Yeah, so EMG measures the electrical signals coming down from your central nervous system to the muscle. It is essentially listening to the brain shouting the command to fire.
Okay, got it.
MMG, on the other hand, measures the actual acoustic and mechanical vibrations of the muscle fibers as they physically twitch and contract. It's listening to the execution of the command.
Oh, wow. So they were monitoring the entire communication loop, the command from the brain and the physical response from the tissue.
Exactly. And the data showed no significant interaction for the EMG or MMG signals between the two groups.
None.
And none. The electrical signals were not enhanced, and the mechanical twitch was not improved by the massage. What this tells us is that a quick 1-minute massage does not restore force output neurologically or structurally.
That is so wild to me.
Now, proponents of these devices often argue that percussive therapy increases blood flow, which flushes out metabolic waste and brings in the nutrients needed for that protein synthesis we mentioned.
Right. That's what the marketing always says.
But this study highlights a crucial limitation in real-world application. 1 minute of treatment, which is how most regular people actually use these devices, might simply not be enough time to drive the massive, sustained blood flow required to meaningfully accelerate cellular-level muscle regeneration.
So if I'm an athlete and I really need my raw power back for a playoff game tomorrow, this 1-minute massage protocol isn't going to save me.
No, it won't.
My muscle is still fundamentally damaged and my force output is compromised either way. So, okay, if the muscle fibers are mechanically still weak and broken, how do we explain the fact that people swear these devices make them feel better?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question.
Right. That massive disconnect forced the researchers to look past raw strength and measure something entirely different, which is functional movement and subjective perception.
And this is where this story shifts dramatically. When we move away from structural mechanics and look at range of motion, the results tell a completely different story.
Okay, let's look at the range of motion, or ROM, data. The researchers measured how far the subjects could physically flex and extend their elbows without hitting, like, a wall of stiffness.
Which is very limited when you have DOMs.
Exactly. From the 24-hour mark all the way through to the 72-hour mark, the massage group saw a 6 to 8 degree improvement in their range of motion compared to the control group.
And just to put that in perspective, if you were struggling to straighten your arm, to put on a jacket, or reach for a steering wheel, 8 degrees of improved mobility is a highly functional, very noticeable difference.
It's huge.
You're going to feel significantly less restricted in your daily life.
And by the time they hit the 72-hour mark, the control group had finally, just barely, returned to their normal pre-workout baseline of flexibility.
Just barely, yeah.
But the massage group actually exceeded their pre-workout flexibility by 4 degrees. They were literally more flexible than before they even touched the heavy dumbbell.
That is fascinating.
It is. But we have to look at how this ties into their perception of pain, because the way this study tracked soreness is where the real nuance, the real aha moment actually happens.
Definitely. Subjective pain is notoriously difficult to track, which is why the specific timing of their measurements is the most important part of this entire study.
Okay, so they used an 11-point numerical rating scale for soreness. 0 is no pain at all. 10 is the worst pain imaginable. The researchers asked both groups to rate their background pain on days 1, 2, and 3 before any treatment was given for that day.
Before the treatment, right?
And before the daily treatment, the massage group hurt just as much as the control group.
Let that sink in.
The massage they received the day before did not prevent the deep tissue soreness from returning. The background level of DOMS was completely identical.
Right, the intervention didn't stop the biological inflammatory process.
Yeah.
But immediately after the 1-minute treatment, they measured the soreness again.
And what happened?
Well, for the control group, who just laid there for a minute, their pain stayed exactly the same. But for the massage group, immediately after that 1 minute of 40 hertz vibration, their perceived soreness dropped by a full point on that 11-point scale.
Wow. So it acted like an immediate temporary relief valve. It didn't cure the underlying cellular damage. We know the Z-lines are still torn and the strength is still gone, but it absolutely masked the symptom in the short term.
Precisely.
And by that final 72-hour mark, the massage group was basically back to 0 pain immediately after their treatment, while the control group was still hovering around a 3 out of 10, still actively suffering.
Yeah, the percussive massage isn't acting as an architect rebuilding the muscle. It's acting more like an analgesic, like a painkiller.
A painkiller. Interesting.
It provides a temporary window of neurological relief, and that temporary relief is directly tied to why their range of motion improves so much.
How so?
Think about it. If it hurts less to stretch a damaged muscle, your psychological and physical stretch tolerance goes way up. You are willing to push the joint further because the warning signals have been dialed down.
Okay, so we know what happened now. The muscle is still weak, but it is more flexible, and the pain is temporarily muted. But as we were diving into this, I kept wondering why.
The mechanism behind it.
Yeah, like how can a muscle be fundamentally damaged, yet simultaneously flexible and numb? While looking through the notes on this, I went down a bit of a physics rabbit hole to understand the flexibility side, and I came across a concept called thixotropy.
Oh, that's a great concept to bring up.
So I want you to picture a jar of raw honey or even a bottle of ketchup. If it's just been sitting in the pantry for a week, it is thick, it is rigid, and it barely moves when you tilt it.
Right, it just sticks to the bottom.
But if you take that bottle and shake it vigorously, the mechanical agitation changes the physical properties of the fluid. It suddenly becomes runnier, less viscous, and more fluid.
That concept maps perfectly onto the human fascial system. Inside our bodies, our muscles aren't just, isolated meat. They are wrapped in and surrounded by loose connective tissue.
Fascia, right.
Yes. And within that tissue is a substance called hyaluronic acid, which acts as a cellular lubricant. When we experience severe muscle damage and the resulting inflammation from those 7-second eccentric curls, that hyaluronic acid can become incredibly viscous and thick.
Oh, I see.
It gets sticky, just like that undisturbed honey. It creates physical friction and resistance to movement, which your brain interprets as stiffness.
So when you take a massage gun and drive it into that tissue at 40 hertz, hitting the muscle 40 times a second.
You are vigorously shaking the ketchup bottle.
Wow.
The percussive force is physically transferring kinetic energy into the tissue, which reduces the viscosity. It thins out the hyaluronic acid, making those fascial layers glide over each other smoothly again.
That makes so much sense.
That provides a purely mechanical explanation for why the range of motion improves so dramatically. The physical resistance within the connective tissue is temporarily liquefied.
The honey becomes runny and the arm can straighten out. I love that. But thixotropy doesn't explain why the muscle stops hurting. Like shaking a fluid doesn't numb a nerve.
Right. For the pain reduction, we have to look at how the nervous system prioritizes information. Deep within our tissues, we have sensory receptors, including specific structures called Pacinian corpuscles.
Pacinian corpuscle.
Yes. And these little receptors are exquisitely sensitive to deep pressure and rapid vibration. When you apply a percussive massager, you are hammering those Pacinian corpuscles with intense vibratory input. This triggers what is known as the gate control theory of pain.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's the idea that the spinal cord has a literal neurological gate that can either let pain signals travel up to the brain or block them entirely.
Yes, exactly. The nerves that carry the deep aching pain of DOMS are called C fibers, and they transmit signals relatively slowly. The nerves connected to the Pacinian corpuscles, which carry the sensation of vibration, are large, heavily myelinated fibers that transmit signals incredibly fast.
So it's a race.
Basically, yeah.
Huh?
When you turn on the massage gun, a massive flood of fast-moving vibratory signals races up to the spinal cord. They arrive at the gate first and essentially crowd out the slower-moving pain signals.
It's almost like having a radio tuned to a station playing terrible, depressing music that's the slow, aching DOMs. And the massage gun acts like a secondary broadcast, blasting radio static over that same frequency so loudly and so fast that your brain just can't hear the sad music anymore.
That is exactly what's happening. The structural pain is still there at the cellular level. The Z lines are still torn, the inflammation is still present, but the brain is temporarily blocked from registering the severity of it because it is entirely distracted by the vibration.
So that explains the drop in soreness.
Hence, the immediate drop in the soreness score right after the 1-minute treatment. The gate is closed to pain and open to vibration.
It is honestly brilliant how the body triages sensory input like that. But, this is science, and science loves a good boundary. We have to talk about the limitations of what this study actually proves.
We do. Every rigorous study has caveats. First, we have to acknowledge the lack of a placebo or a sham group.
Right, like a sugar pill.
Exactly. In pharmaceutical trials, you give someone a sugar pill to account for the psychological effect of receiving a treatment. It is incredibly difficult to fake a percussive massage.
I mean, how would you even do that?
You really can't.
Yeah.
The subjects in the treatment group obviously knew they were receiving a therapy. When you are asking human beings to self-report subjective measures like pain on an 11-point scale, we can never entirely discount the placebo effect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The mere act of having a researcher apply a high-tech recovery device to your arm might unconsciously make you want to feel better.
We also have to loop back to the subject pool, the untrained individuals. We talked about the repeated bout effect and the callus analogy earlier. If you are a veteran gym goer who routinely exposes your muscles to heavy eccentric stress, your baseline for damage is entirely different. You simply will not experience the same catastrophic level of microtrauma that these subjects did.
Precisely.
Therefore, the drastic improvements in range of motion and pain reduction seen in this study might be significantly muted in a highly trained athlete. If the floor of your damage isn't as deep, the ceiling for your improvement is much lower.
That's a great point. And there's also a critical physiological variable regarding the demographics. 14 of the 17 subjects in this study were female, and the researchers explicitly noted that they did not track or control for the menstrual cycle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, emerging sports science research strongly indicates that different phases of the menstrual cycle, specifically comparing the early follicular phase to the mid-luteal phase, can significantly influence how the body experiences exercise-induced muscle damage.
Is that because of the fluctuations in hormones like estrogen, which can have protective effects on muscle tissue?
Yes, exactly. Estrogen can influence membrane stability and inflammation. Not controlling for where these 14 women were in their cycles is a known limitation that introduces a potential variable in how quickly their strength and soreness levels naturally fluctuated.
So it could have skewed the data slightly.
Potentially. Future research will absolutely need to control for hormonal phases to get a clearer picture of recovery timelines.
It's a great reminder that one study is never really the end of the scientific conversation, right? It's a stepping stone that clarifies the next set of questions we need to ask.
Always.
So, to bring this all together for you, we set out to discover exactly what 1 minute of percussive massage does after a deeply damaging workout. Based on this specific protocol, here is the scientifically clear summary.
The big takeaway.
Using that massage gun for 1 minute will not make your physical strength return any faster. It does not accelerate the mechanical repair of the torn muscle fibers or magically knit your Z-lines back together.
No magic wands here.
However, it will significantly improve your range of motion by essentially unsticking the fascial layers, and it will provide a highly effective, albeit temporary, reduction in your perceived soreness by scrambling the pain signals at the spinal cord. It is a fantastic tool for mobility and symptom management, but it is not a magic wand for structural healing.
Knowing what a tool actually does at the cellular and neurological level allows you to use it correctly in your own programming.
Exactly.
You can manage your expectations and apply the therapy when you need functional movement, rather than expecting it to replace actual rest and recovery.
And if you found these methodology details and biological mechanisms as fascinating as we did, I strongly encourage you to go read the full article yourself. Again, it is published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine 2024 by Roberts, Costa, Lynn, and Coburn.
It's a fantastic read.
It really is, with even more data and charts than we could cover here. Also, just a quick reminder for our listeners, if you love unpacking the actual science behind everyday health and performance trends, make sure you follow the channel and turn on your notifications.
Highly recommend it.
We are doing evidence-based deep dives into the research like this all the time, and you definitely won't want to miss the next one. But before we go, I want to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder based on everything we just learned about the gate control theory and pain perception.
Oh, this is a good one.
We now know that a massage gun temporarily numbs our pain and artificially increases our stretch tolerance by scrambling the nervous system, all without actually restoring the muscle's underlying structural strength. So if you are feeling sore and you use one of these devices right before a heavy workout just to feel better, could you actually be increasing your risk of a severe muscle tear simply because your body's natural protective warning signals have just been artificially muted?
Something to really think about.
Think about that the next time you reach for the power tool.